I won't Pursuit of Truth. A little bit of add-on to the one I just recorded. The bit I was going to talk about was also to do with, I know on Facebook people were talking about defending Colston, because Colston was philanthropic. I don't know in what nature that was, who that money was given to, and trying to defend that. Because the statue was taken down, he was a slave trader. People were saying that he gave them the money that he gave back to the king, but then that's all on Wikipedia. But it says that he continued to do it privately, the slave trading. So of course, if you don't read enough, then you can think that he gave the money back and he gave it up. Then they were talking about in George Floyd's funeral, they used Amazing Grace, which was written by someone who was involved in the slave trade. I think, was it John Newton? I can't remember his name now. But he was involved in the slave trade, but then he went out of it, he became a Christian, a priest, and he wrote the song Amazing Grace afterwards. So they were trying to show that, that's a bit embarrassing that it was used in the funeral. And what I was trying to think about is that what the problem is because how do you judge a person? Do you judge a person by the beginning of their life, by how they end their life? Can someone be forgiven for making mistakes? We're all human, we're all fallible. And also, what about the time we're within? How much does that play a part? Who is us of us? Me as I am now, is it fair to equate me with me, say, in the 1700s or the 1300s? Because I would have been brought up a different way. My parents would have been different. The teachings were different. What was on, there was no TV. What was written down in newspapers was different from what it is now. We've evolved. So how do we judge people of the past? Then also that comes into programs, people, because I saw about Little Britain and Fawlty Towers, and I saw Little Britain. I watched the first episode again, and it had them blacked up and doing what is it, that show, the BBC show, Black and White Minstrels, and you can see how that could be, it was done for comedy effect. They weren't meaning it in any malice way, I don't think, unless they're secretly racists. But I could see why someone would have offence at that, because back in that time, black people weren't able to be on television, so I assumed that white people were blacked up. And that's a disgrace, that's an inequality. So to celebrate that, to make fun of that, is sort of to, it's a bit like, yeah. But yeah, it was interesting to me is that how do you look at someone and judge them because of their past? And the question is, what is us of us? Which part of us is actually us and not a product of the time that we're within and the teachings of that time that we've been taught? Because it's easy for us to look back and say, oh, look how bad these people were in the past. But that's because of we've grown since then. The same as in our future, that will happen. But yeah, just because someone's done philanthropy throughout their lives and their end of their lives, maybe to make, because of the guilt of the past, they could still be a racist and give money, say, to white people or to white children, and you think, oh, these are good people, but whatever, it depends what the philanthropy was. Adolf Hitler was very fond of dogs and very good with dogs, but it wasn't very good with Jews, if you see what the message of what I'm trying to say there. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, how do we judge ourselves? Because we are a product of a society, of a system that we have no control of, really, and it makes us. We're like a forward production line of human beings. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.